Wow, welcome back, everybody. We did it. 5 live streams this week. I don't know how many of them you got a chance to catch, but I'm super excited that I have a chance to have all these conversations with these amazing authors. And today, I actually have someone who has experience working with authors. And so this is a whole different kind of interview, which is what I love, that we get to feature these folks who are creating great content themselves, as well as supporting their authors. So without any further delay, I'm really pleased to introduce our guest. I'm pleased to interview one of our BizBook Pub Hub partners. Our hub partners are experts who support entrepreneurs along their author journey. Today's guest brings a dynamic blend of publishing know-how and stage presence to the author experience. As the founder of Press 49, an award-winning hybrid publishing company, she supports nonfiction authors, especially entrepreneurs, speakers, and business leaders, in transforming their ideas into high-quality books that open doors and drive revenue. As a professional speaker, consultant, and author, she knows firsthand how powerful a book can be as a business asset. Through Press 49, she offers authors the best of both worlds, the professionalism and polish of traditional publishing, paired with the creative control, royalties, and rights retention of independent publishing. Whether she's leading a high-energy presentation or guiding an author through the publishing process, she believes deeply in the value of sharing one's message with the world. Please join me welcoming Bridgett McGowen-Hawkins. Welcome, Bridgett, to the show.
Thank you so much, Robbie. Great to be here.
You and I have gotten to know each other a bit over the last couple of years. I feel like more so since you joined the BizBook Pub Hub. But I don't know your backstory. So I'm really curious. I always ask this question of our experts, but how did you come to be providing services for authors?
My journey, Sammy. I was about to call you Sammy. That has anybody ever done that to you?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that drives me crazy. Your name is very important. My journey, Robbie, into the world of publishing started as a speaker and a writer who understood firsthand the power of a well-crafted message. I come from corporate America. I've been a professional speaker since 2001. I traveled the country and outside of our borders, delivering presentations just on all kinds of topics in the world of effective communication and presentation skills. I ended up getting laid off in 2016, and I thought, what am I going to do now? So I decided, since I had been a professional speaker since '01, either on my own, on the side, or working for different organizations, I said, I'm going to be a full-time speaker. Robbie, I was getting ready to present at a conference in DC. It's May of 2019. And this conference, like other conferences, asked me, did I have a book to sell in the conference bookstore? Now, this is the same conference bookstore, Robbie, that is also selling Oprah's book. She was one of the speakers at this conference too, 14,000 people in attendance. So I had the audacity, the confidence, whatever, to say, sure, I have a book to publish. I have a book to sell in your bookstore. No, I didn't. But I had tons of content. I got laid off in 2016. This was 2019. For 3 years, I had been blogging, creating newsletters, crafting all kinds of content for clients on what it takes to be an engaging and effective communicator. My presentation at that conference was on effective presentation skills. So I pulled all of this content together, Robbie, and in a very short amount of time, in less than a month, I pulled together the book, the editing, the typesetting, the cover design, but I found the experts to do it. There was no way I could do it on my own, right? Get to the conference, Robbie. Session is fantastic. Everybody loves it. Room is packed. Several people leave out of the room. A number of people hang back to talk with me. Robbie, people started trickling back into the room. I'm looking. I'm thinking, what are they coming back for? I have nothing left to give. They said, Bridgett, your book's not in the bookstore. I said, hold the phone. I flew here from Phoenix to DC, got off that plane yesterday, got settled in my hotel, came to the convention center. The book was on the shelf. I came back today, took a selfie with it in the background. That book is there. I mean, I'm on 10. They let me get my spiel out, Robbie, and they said, Bridgett, the book was there. it sold out. We were wondering if you had some extras on you that you could sell us. And so it was after publishing my own book. And then I worked with 49 other professional speakers to see if I knew what I was doing to create a collaboration book. And Press 49, that number 49, pays homage to the publication date of that first book. I got it done and published on April 9th, or 4/9. And then it also pays homage to those 49 other professional speakers who knew me as a speaker, but they said, you know what, Bridgett, we trust you. We will be a part of this collaboration book and let you get your feet wet in this publishing world. And so they worked with me, and we established, or we created On the Microphone, how 50 of the world's best professional speakers launch their careers, and how you can too. Of course, I was number 50, right?
Yeah, yeah. I love the word chutzpah comes to mind.
Yep. Yep.
To yes the opportunity instead of, oh, I don't know, no, I don't.
Yep.
But also that you leaned in to working with professionals, because you knew you had the content, but you knew that you needed to produce a quality book, and there's a lot to learn the first time through. I actually joked that I would have to do books 2 and 3 just because I had independently published and project managed my own first book for lack of funds more than any other reason. And I learned a lot, and I liked what I learned, but I also thought, if I don't do this again, what's the point of learning all this? Like, I think, you took it to the next extreme, which is helping others bring their voices forward. And it seems like an interesting but very natural progression from the work you were doing around effective communication. It's just a different medium. And a lot of speakers, I mean, this is like a necessary part of being a speaker, is like having the right kind of book, and having that book, not just for the bookstore, but to present yourself out into the world as that expert, as that author. How did that evolve? Like, did you know right away you were going to help people with the writing? Were you focused more on the publishing part? I mean, clearly you have a wide range of skill sets, but how did you figure out over the last couple of years kind of where your lane was in the world of publishing?
That's a fantastic question. Well, Robbie, you introduced me and you shared that we work with speakers and business leaders, business coaches, consultants. I found my lane by looking at the lane that I was rolling in.
Mm.
All of those people that we like to work with are people that do the same things I've done. I am a speaker, I am a coach, I am a consultant, I am a business owner. So I understand where they're coming from. And after publishing my own book, I understood how overwhelming and frustrating the publishing process can be for authors who simply want to share their expertise and impact with others. That's when I knew I could do more. I founded Press 49 to get rid of that confusion, get rid of the guesswork, get rid of those roadblocks that keep brilliant voices from being heard. I wanted to create a publishing experience that was as seamless and empowering as the books my authors write.
So this is a fairly new project, but it feels really robust. So what are the range of services that you now offer?
Absolutely. So we have a team of 16, and we provide all types of editing, whether it is developmental editing, mechanical editing, or proofreading. Because sometimes we have people who, for various reasons, want to publish under their own imprint, or they just want editing, or they just want typesetting, they just want cover design. So we offer all of the services that encompass publishing. We can consult with you. We have clients where they want to publish under their own imprint because, like a lot of business owners, they want to keep that brand nice and solid, and to have a book that's published under their imprint is very nice. But at the same time, they don't want to become experts in publishing. So we're their consultant on the side, or their guide on the side. But we offer full range of services that are necessary to get a book from your computer into the marketplace.
So is it a manuscript that's already been created? Like, are you also, I'm trying to figure out where the start of this is. If I'm coming to you and I'm like, I have an idea for a book, do you guide me to a writing coach that you know, or do you have that as 16. It's amazing that you have 16 people working with you on this. I just want to say out loud because I kind of went, oh, when you said that. But yeah, so are you providing kind of like getting the ideas out of people's heads in a strategic, thoughtful way, or is it more shaping the book that someone comes to you maybe somewhat formed?
That is a fantastic question. Robbie, I love that you are getting to the heart of what people need to know. That is a, a very valid question. You can come to us with a complete manuscript, or you can come to us with just an idea. We have on our team writing coaches as well as ghost writers. And so if you come just with the idea, then what I'm going to do is lay out those two paths and say, do you want to work with a writing coach, or do you want to work with a ghost writer? And sometimes people will say, I just want to do it myself. I don't want either one of them. Okay, that's cool. Come back when you have a completed manuscript. But if you want to do one of those two routes, then I'm going to think about what is it you're wanting to accomplish with your book? What is your industry? What's the topic you're writing on? The genre, all of that good stuff. And then I'm going to set up Zoom calls with a couple of writing coaches or ghostwriters for the two of you to see if there's synergy, if it makes sense. Will it work for the two of you to work together in order to create this manuscript? So yeah, you can come to us all ready to publish, or you can come to us saying, you know what, I need some support here. I've got nothing but an idea, and we've got you.
You know, I want to laugh when you said, come to us all ready to publish, because you and I both know that they aren't ready to publish. When they think they're ready to publish, they're like, I have my manuscript, it's ready to go. And you look at it and you're like, huh. Speaking of which, I have some questions for you about strategy, because one of the reasons, probably the main reason I wanted to bring together folks like you into this BizBook Pub Hub, which is this referral network of experts who guide entrepreneurs through the author journey, writing, editing, publishing, and marketing. And some do, kind of like you, a mix of everything, and some do just the one or two pieces of that puzzle. Is I think, as you've noted, what entrepreneurs like us need, speakers, thought leaders, coaches, consultants, what we need our book to do is different than someone who's creating a different kind of book for a different kind of reason. And yes, it's nonfiction, but so is a cookbook. So is a travel guide. Like, we need this book to do a certain thing for our business, but we don't always know what that is because we're new to this whole writing thing. So I'm curious what you do as you onboard. Like, you started to talk about like what a business are they in, what goals they have, but how granular do you get with them around this to help them figure out kind of what the outcome is that they should be shooting for with this book?
Yeah, actually, before they even sign with us, that is a question I will ask, because we may not be the right fit for you, but I will ask, what do you want your book to do for you or your business? What is your reader's takeaway? What problem are you solving? And then also, we do a pretty good deep dive, Robbie. I'm going to ask, what do you see being able to do as a result of being a published author? Because you and I both know it does not stop with that book on a shelf, virtual or physical. So I have to ask, are you thinking about speaking? Are you thinking about creating courses, running workshops, offering retreats, creating merchandise, offering train the trainer programs? Are you going to do some kind of certifications? You see, this book is just the hub. It's the hub of your will. And then all of those items I listed off, the merchandise, the train the trainer, the certifications, the workshops, the speaking engagements, the courses, all of those are spokes of that wheel. So the question that I'm going to ask is, what do you want your book to do for you? We're going to be selfish here. And yeah, we wanted to make some money. And then I'm going to stop you and let you know that $30 book on Amazon is not making you money unless you are out there talking about it day and night, sun up to sundown, 24/7, 365. It is everything that being a published author gets you or positions you to be able to do that is going to generate that revenue. So we dive pretty deeply and ask some pretty targeted questions before you even write a word in some instances, because that is incredibly important. Let's say you crank out 40, 50, 60,000 words, and maybe they're great, but they're not solving a problem for anybody. They're not doing anything for your reader. They're not doing anything for your business. What have we done?
I think this is so astute. And it's one of the reasons I'm so grateful to have publishers like you in the hub, because I think there's a lot of messaging, a lot of predatory messaging in this publishing space. I joke all the time that if you go to someone and say, I've got, about 20 blog posts that I want to turn into a book, and they go, okay, we can print it. Like, if that's the entire exchange, run away. And you don't need a vanity press. You need someone who's going to help you publish your book. Like, actually think about the cause and effect. We have this book. What comes next? What could come next? What do we want to have happen? And that will dictate the through line of the book, the questions, the outcomes, all of this thing. So I just think finding a safe place where there are these vetted partners to ask these questions for you. And I think re-ask those questions, because often it changes as the book comes to life. Maybe it's almost like they can't see the full benefits of being an author until they're getting closer and closer to the reality of it. I also know authors have this moment. I'm wondering if it happens to your authors right before their like manuscript is done. Like, they're handing it off to the editor, maybe, or the editor to the proofreader, and then to the formatter, and they have a moment of deep hesitation, because there's this voice that's not been quieted. A lot of times authors have a hard time getting past the internal messaging in their head, particularly around the question of, who am I to write a book? And I think it's a worthwhile question when framed in a safe place, but left to your own devices, it could talk people out of writing the book or sharing the book if they've already written it. So how are you seeing that come up for your authors, and how are you helping them if it does?
Well, Robbie, you probably don't know this, but I have a master's in counseling. It is coming in far more readily and handily as a publisher than it did prior to I got into this industry, prior to me getting into the industry. Seriously, I have to support them with getting rid of that self-doubt. I have to talk to them about the fact that they have people who want to learn from them. Go look at your roster of clients. Go look at your social media feed. Go look at your email. Look at the questions you're getting asked. Look at the opportunities that are being put in front of you. Look at the clients who are coming to you with problems that they know only you can solve. You've got this. You've got to push the self doubt away. Yes, it will creep in. And every single one of us will have days where we're looking and we're thinking, who do you think you are? However, I need you to also ask yourself, who might I help if I get this book done? You have
Mm-hmm.
no idea the impact of your message. Let me tell you, Robbie. This happened just yesterday, less than 24 hours ago. I'm on LinkedIn and I get this message from this professor in the Midwest. Random. I'm paraphrasing. It was a pretty lengthy message, but he was telling me how he was using one of my books that I published back in 2019, because I did it for myself in May of 2019. Then I did another one for myself in October of 2019 to see if I knew what I was doing. And then I did the compilation project with the 49 other authors. That second book, I didn't even think anybody was paying it any attention. I never talk about it. It's called Rise and Sizzle. He told me how he uses it. He loves it. He uses it as one of the textbooks in a course at a university. I'm sitting here like, really? I didn't even know the thing was still in distribution. No, I'm
That's
kidding.
amazing. I
Right?
love it. I mean, this is the thing about a book. People don't throw them away. So if they don't want it, they give it away. So if they've read your message, or maybe not, and they're like, "Oh, I'm ready to move on. I'm gonna pass." They're much more likely to pass along a book than throw away a book. Just, I don't know what it is, but if you've ever moved and you're noticing how many boxes and boxes and boxes of heavy books you have, and you think, I'm gonna slim down, your first thought isn't, I'm gonna go find the recycling bin and just toss all these. No, it's like, where can I donate these? Who can I give these to? I have, before I moved states, I organized my books into themes and posted them online, and had people come by my house and grab them. You know, bundles of 5, 6 books on a theme, right? Just because this is what happens. We think these words are precious. So you never know the reach that your book can have. Now, you can help it along. I do, I focus on the launch because I think getting out of the gate strong is really important. And I think a lot of authors have these metrics in their head that aren't the most important metrics. So I want to kind of do some myth busting with you about this, because you are also a professional speaker, and I come through the world of the National Speakers Association, which is where these myths started being busted for me about, for instance, the importance of hitting number one in an Amazon category, or calling yourself an international bestseller because you hit number one in Canada once and in the US once. And these things that definitely get played up as being a big deal, but in the reality, it's not that many books sold. It's not that hard to do, and it's very different than hitting number one on New York Times or selling 3.5 million copies, which is legitimate things that are pretty hard to do, although can still be gamified. The truth be told. So what are some of these things that I'm mentioning, or others that come up for you, that your authors come to you with I want this to happen for my book to be a success, and you kind of go, huh? And maybe you got to use that social. So I have a master's in social work. So I was laughing when you said you have a master's in counseling. I get how helpful it comes in. So maybe you have to talk them down a little bit from that and give them some real talk. But what are your thoughts about this? What are the kind of messages that authors come to you kind of already thinking are true and important, and how are you educating them?
Right. Every single thing that you listed off, I will get that. I wanted to become an Amazon number one new release, an Amazon bestseller. I want it in brick and mortar stores. That one comes up a lot. And I want to talk about that one actually. That's not necessarily a bad thing. However, what I will share with authors and prospective authors is this: that may be something on your bucket list, or something that would really elevate your ego, to be able to point to the local Barnes and Noble or the local mom and pop bookshop and say, my book is on the shelf there. However, Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble, the mom and pop bookshop are not museums. They're not looking to collect items to be able to display. You can get your book in there. You can work to get your book in there. And at Press 49, we'll support you with getting it done. But there's a lot of leg work involved. And part of that leg work involves you being able to demonstrate to this brick and mortar store that you have a very clear, strong, powerful marketing plan for getting people in that store and buying that book. Because again, they're not museums. They're not just looking for stuff to put on the shelf. They want stuff to put on the shelf that's going to fly off the shelf. So that's great. And I'm happy. I'm happy to help any of our authors, support any of our authors with getting their titles in physical stores. I tell them at the same time, this store is going to want to know how you are driving people here to buy the book. They can't pay the bills with your book just sitting on the shelf.
God, I have so many stories from speaker friends who this is the thing they really, really want to have happen. And my joke is, you could just walk in with a copy of your book from home, stand in front of a bookshelf somewhere, anywhere, take the selfie, walk out, done, right? Like, cost you nothing. It's just for social media, right? Like, you just want to have a little hit of like, hey, if your book was in Barnes and Noble and you happen to bring it in, it's still true. Your book was in Barnes and Noble. Now, the other thing, the extremes of this, is a friend of mine paid $5,000 to get the window display at the Barnes and Noble on Fifth Avenue. I believe it was Fifth Avenue in New York City. And the deal is, you buy basically $5,000 worth of books. And then part of that, you get the display for a week or something like that. Well, he flew from across the country to take the photo. He did a video of himself walking up, because he's been talking about he basically the whole arc from the day he got on the plane. While he was on the plane, he like took little clips and he made it into a video. He's walking across the street when he realizes that there's, oh my God, we're going to talk about this. There was construction going on, and so there was scaffolding in front of the window of Barnes and Noble, and he couldn't get as good of a shot. It was hidden from the street. I mean, like, and now the only upside, I sort of talked him through why it wasn't terrible. He was planning to give away that many books anyway. Like, he had a marketing plan for what to do with the books in order to get them in front of decision makers. And maybe it was a little more than he would have purchased, but he was planning to kind of do a whole distribution. He also gives some books as part of his speaking fee to get them to then buy more books. So he was going to be able to move. I think the unfortunate thing would have been if he was stuck with all those books in his garage, right? That'd be even worse of a story. So he got a little chance to have a little bit of a boost, but it did not work out. And the video just ended up being, I mean, he still posted it, but it was not the like big reveal that he wanted. And I've also seen lots of people spending money to get on airport bookstores, and you can, and it's great. But again, it's a whole lot of money and effort and time, and you got to really sell books. I love your analogy about this isn't a museum. They're not just here to display your book. If that's the case, literally walk in with your book, to take a photo and walk out. But I think that the reason I like you bringing this up, because it's a wishful thinking versus the actual bang for your buck. Like, is this $20,000 to get your book into airport bookstores actually going to translate into sales? Now, if your audience is people who travel a lot, like executives, then maybe there's a worth it, because you're not selling the book, you're selling access to the people who will hire you to consult. And those consulting fees are $50,000 and above, right? So you need one person to say yes to cover the cost and then some. And then if you get multiple, it's good, right? So I think it's about really understanding the nuance of your audience and where they're looking for your book. I love just having my book in Ingram Spark, and I can tell anyone to walk into any independent bookstore and ask for my book, and they'll order it. And maybe they'll order 2 copies because they're like, wow, people are asking for this book. And then there's another copy on the shelf. So that's a low-key grassroots way to kind of get your book in a few places. But anything else come to mind that are one of those, like, I really wish authors knew this before they came to us?
That one was definitely top of mind, because I just had that conversation with someone about a week or so ago. You know, I think maybe awards might be something else that comes up. It doesn't come up as often as the bestseller and brick and mortar presence, but yes, awards will come up. And there are some reputable organizations out there where it's great cachet to have your name and your book attached to that organization being a winner. But then there are others where there's so many awards out there for books. And so I implore you to tread carefully. Uh, and not all awards are created equally.
Mm. Yes. Yes, I will second that. I finally went around my own inertia and got an award for my 3rd book. And I joked that the true award was for finally submitting it, because I wrote good books the first 2 books too. I just didn't have the capacity to get to this point. And I did that research you were just mentioning, and I ended up going with Nonfiction Authors Association, partly because I was interested in membership, and I was interested in, because I was trying to find what I eventually created with the hub, a community of authors. And I also knew people who were part of the review committee. So I had started to, through my own network, meet these people, and I understood that there were some rigorous standards. So this was not every book that gets submitted wins something. And that was important to me on a personal level for just integrity purposes. And it felt like an investment back into a community that I would want to support anyway. So that being done, I didn't then look to submit 16 other places, but I just talked to someone who submitted 12 places. She got 7 awards and 5 honorable mentions. And I said, good use of your money. That's a lot of money. Like, each award is a cost. And then, when I got this gold award, I also bought a roll of gold stickers, which was a fee. And I ordered the plaque thing, and that, fine. It's fine. But there's a little cottage industry for this. And you have to be careful that you're going with an organization that is an organization, not just a award giving organization, that, like, there's some substance behind it. But you don't need multiple for one book. And by the way, I will probably try to submit my next book for an award. But if I don't, I'm still an award-winning author. I don't need 3 of them to be an award-winning author.
Yeah, you always will be an award-winning author. And then I encourage you, when you win one award, or, 7 and 5 honorable mentions or whatever. When you do that, do something with that. Because, I mean, to me, I would think the point is to be able to get more eyes on your book, to be able to say, hey, look, not only do I think my book is the bee's knees, but we have these reputable organizations that have vetted their judges and they have carefully reviewed my book against other books in the same genre or category, what have you. And they think it's pretty awesome sauce too. How about us doing business? How about
Mhm.
you ordering a set for your entire organization or whatever the case may be? But don't just, sit and look at your oh, you can't see my the way I'm positioned, you can't see my trophies. But don't just sit and look at your trophies and your medals on the wall and the gold stickers you bought,
Yeah.
but actually get the word out about the fact that I am an award-winning author. This is an award-winning book. You need it on your shelf. You need it in your life.
It's a great piece of the pitch when you're doing bulk orders. I think that it is part of distinguishing your book from all the books in your topic. A lot of the authors I work with are in very crowded fields. Like just take leadership as an example, right? There's a zillion books. So I personally, as a launch strategist, focus on reviews on Amazon. So I'm curious about how that fits into what you talk to your authors about and what kind of guidance or support you're able to give them. And I want to say the caveat here, which I think every author should know. The job of a publisher is to publish your book. It's in the name. Okay, folks, publish your book. If they provide launch support, marketing services, or refer you to a PR agency, A, that's additional money, and B, see whether they actually have that skill set and they aren't just like upselling you for the sake of taking your money. And also know that what is their core mission? To publish your book, to make it look awesome. They might want to refer you out to these other pieces. But I think there's a huge misunderstanding that this is also true for traditional publishers. Like people expect that they won the golden ticket and now everything's gonna be made in the shade, no effort on their part. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. The author is still in charge of the marketing plan. Like you said, if you can get it into brick and mortar, you still need a marketing plan. But for me, the reviews are social proof on that book sales page on Amazon, which whether or not you buy from Amazon, which I know there are reasons not to, it's still a research place. It's where everyone who's making a decision about your value and the content that you create value is going to go and glance there, including podcast hosts and media outlets and all of that. So that's why I emphasize that and building the launch team for that purpose. But how are you framing that? Because I think it's another piece that authors just don't think about or they misunderstand the assignment and their follow through doesn't lead to the outcomes that you'd hope for them as a business related asset.
First off, Robbie, thank you so much for that primer on the fact that publishers publish books. Yes, we will talk about them. Yes, we are going to market them. That would be insane for a publisher to not put out to the world information about a new author that they've published. But when it comes to those Amazon reviews, what I will share with authors is absolutely you can get a ton of reviews. You can do that, but it requires work on your part. You have to tell people what you want them to do. Not everybody is going to buy your book and then automatically say, oh, my next step is to make sure I return to Amazon and put in a positive review. So if you want those reviews, you have to tell people what to do. And you actually have to get out there and do the work. The next thing I'm going to tell them is you need to go talk to Robbie because that is his jam. I
Yeah.
mean, hands down, without a doubt, that is what he excels in. That is his zone of genius. He's going to make sure you get those reviews. But yeah, I mean, I'm so happy that you made that very clear distinction that publishers publish books. Yes, we'll talk about them, but in terms of getting those reviews and getting the PR and things of that nature for a book, we don't necessarily do that. And I will tell authors this, like you said, I am happy to refer you to trusted vendors. We have a number of experts in the book marketing space, you being one of them, Robbie, where we trust you and we will send authors to them. I tell them this at the same time. The best marketing tool that any book can ever have is the author. If you're not talking about your book, Nobody knows about your book. If nobody knows about your book, nobody's buying your book. And if nobody's buying your book, then what are we doing, friends? So,
Yeah, it's a pretty expensive paperweight, you know.
yes,
It's a
it
lot of
is.
work.
And, a lot of times I'll have authors, oh, this kind of relates to the question you were asking me earlier about a misnomer or misunderstanding that people have about publishing, is they think about book marketing and getting eyes on the book. They think that that is kind of a plug and play type of situation where they can be hands off with it. And I get it. You've put all of this blood and sweat and time into creating this book. I want to be done with it. I don't want to look at it ever again. I just want it to sell. So sometimes people misunderstand, thinking that they can just turn their book over to a book marketing expert and just sit back and wait for the phone to ring and the doorbell to ring and the emails to ping, where people are buying their book or wanting to talk to them about their book or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, you kind of don't want that to happen. I mean, it's great if you can have an expert in the book marketing space to give your book that much needed exposure, to give it that launch that it deserves. But it's not a situation where you just sit back and you're hands off and you just don't have anything to do with the marketing of the book. I told someone one time, Good Morning America is not going to call up someone and say, hey, I need somebody to come talk about Oprah's new book. You got anybody around? You got one of your marketing experts or, one of your book publicists around to come talk to? No. To come get interviewed about Oprah's? No, they want Oprah. So book marketing can be turned over to experts. Absolutely. Your hands need to be in it as much as possible as the author. You need to work in tandem, right there parallel with that book marketer, doing your own pitches and your own appearances and your own posts and so on and so forth. I could never talk about your book, Robbie, any of your books, as passionately as you could. I can go get a PhD in book marketing, if such a thing exists, but I could never give your book the light, the love, the passion, the excitement that you could with you being the author.
The way I think about this is we hire experts to get good strategy. Now, if we're smart about it, we will listen and we will not go just in with our preconceived notions and expect those outcomes. When I was meeting with Hub Partners initially a year ago, and I met with so many hybrid publishers, and I think you and I are one of the groups, we had this conversation. Why do publishers focus so much on number one bestseller campaigns that either they run or they refer people to? And they said, because the authors want it. And I was sort of dumbfounded to get this response over and over again, because in what other situation would the client dictate the strategy? The expert knows what works, what has the most bang for your buck, where to put your energy and effort to get the outcomes you want. So, yes, you may have your eye on certain prize, but listen to experts for strategies so that you then use your time to work on that strategy. And so for me, when I'm working with an author around building their launch team, I've told them the one thing I cannot do for you is build your invite list for the launch team. I give them a whole process for how to identify likely prospects and referral partners, but they have to they can't even hand it to a team member. Like, it's something they have to sit down and sit down for a couple hours and start building that list. Then, yeah, if you want to hire us to do implementation, we can, solidify what all the emails are going to be, sequencing, and then manage the tech and track all the lists. But that's still, we're working off your people. I'm not selling you access to my amazing list of people who love to write reviews for no reason. There are companies that will say, oh, yes, we'll get you 200 reviews tomorrow. Be right back. Let me just cash this check first. You're like, where are those 200 reviews coming from? Sniff it a little bit. It might smell bad. Like, do not fall for any of the hands-off stuff. So I think generally in life, you're going to have to be in it a little bit to make sure you get the best outcomes. I want to just, as we're wrapping up here, because I feel like you and I could just gab about this all day. You have been very actively engaged in the BizBook Pub Hub. I'm very grateful. I was concerned that some people would sign up and see this as a list they joined And then, like they're on a directory list and they're like, forget about it entirely. And that's not the community that I was envisioning. And so it's lovely to see that you've been coming to our monthly events. We have the private event just for hub partners, so we're getting to know each other. We have the public event that's for writers and authors. And I also have the public event that's for speakers who are also folks who want to be writers and authors. And I'm doing all of this. I'm going very, very downstream from the offer that I have, which is the launch. Like, people need a book, because I'm trying to attract people in to get to know other hub partners. They actually get this book written. I'd love to hear what your experience has been. Why is a hub like this needed? What's it been like to be a part of it? What are some of the benefits of being a part of it? Maybe unexpected, or ones that you'd hoped for that came true? Like, just generally the experience of being it.
I will tell you that meeting with the hub partners on a regular basis has been an incredible opportunity to connect with industry professionals who are just as passionate about, like you and I are going on
Yeah.
and on and on. Well, we are just as passionate about all of the things in the publishing industry, but more importantly, just as passionate about supporting authors with succeeding with their books. One meeting, I've met with a number of hub partners outside of the group sessions that we've had, but one meeting that stood out for me thus far has been with Lil Barkowski. Am I saying her name correctly?
Mm-hmm.
She's with Ghostwriters Network. So Lil offers services that go beyond just writing. I mean, she does website builds and branding and other key elements that really support authors and in themselves professionally. So her work, I found, aligns perfectly with the work that we do at Press 49, because we don't build any websites. But if we have an author who needs one, I know who to refer them to, and at a really great price point. So what I've enjoyed about it is, my husband's in transportation. We pass by a bookstore and he accelerates the car, because he's hoping that I don't see it, right? We come from two different worlds, but to be able to hang out with people who love books, who love to sniff books, who roam around libraries like I do, hanging out with people who are like-minded in this industry. And it is so funny, Robbie, and maybe that's just the nature of us. We all seem to be on the same page when we talk about almost any topic in the publishing industry. So that's my experience with hub partners. It's just been really fantastic to just have a group of book friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know it could be a lonely thing to be the business owner doing something like this. And if you feel like everyone else in the publishing industry is a competitor, well, then you don't want to, it's hard to figure out, like, who do you want to talk to? And here I feel like partly what we're in agreement about is abundant mindset, abundant generosity, supporting each other. And one of the byproducts that has happened that was not planned for, but it makes so much sense, is a piece that you just touched on. People recognizing the piece of this work that they love to do themselves, and then the pieces that they either have never offered but their clients deserve to have access to, or that they've offered because it had to happen, but it wasn't really their strength and it was taking a lot of time, money, or energy. I'm thinking about some writing coaches that became publishers because once you help someone write a book, you feel like you can't just leave them there. But they didn't have a good idea of like who else to send them to. And now they're like, oh, I could roll that back. I could do it to this point. I could find someone just to do the KDP and a Spark part. I can find someone, like, they are realizing they can focus on their lane of expertise and still serve their clients. And that to me has been just so joyful, is the idea of like, what do your prospects and clients need before, during, and after working with you? And then having a really tight referral network with even within the larger hub. Like, maybe there's only 3 or 4 or 5 people that you routinely send clients to, but every now and again, you'll see there's somebody else you need, and you're like, oh, right, there's someone right here. I mean, we have an attorney who understands all the IP and the contracts, right? Like, I
I'm
get
meeting
there
with
all the
her.
time.
I'm meeting with her in the next couple of, couple of weeks. I'm telling you, and yeah. And what I love is a point that you made about, it's not it's not about competition.
Right.
It's not competition based. Like I mean, I think I'm speaking for others when I say when we get on those calls, we're not sitting there thinking that we're going to poach each other's clients or anything like that. I'm sitting there thinking and listening to what do others do that I just don't have any interest in doing. But hey, my authors probably really
Yeah.
could, benefit from that. So it's like a non-competition type zone that is really all about supporting authors.
My favorite associations have created memberships like that. The National Speakers Association is very much run on that motto of build a bigger pie. We're not fighting over a piece of pie. We're building a bigger pie. Abundant generosity is one of the tenets of NSA. Um, it's core to my beliefs, this philosophy of abundance. Like if I give away time or money, I have less of that. But if I give away knowledge, we all benefit, and somehow it'll pay its way forward for me as well. So I love that, and this show is further evidence of that. Your willingness to come on and share, what the experience is like, not just to promote your company, but to really support these authors and these writers and being in the best position possible to benefit from this book they're creating. I would love for people to find out how to find you and follow your work. What are the best ways to do that?
100%. And, it's not just about me coming on the show, the testament to this wonderful community, but you having this show and putting this platform out here. So thank you to you. The best way to get in touch with me is to visit connectwithb.com. Connectwithb.com. It has all of my social media handles. It has how to get to Press 49's site, which is easy, press49.com. But, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, whatever, connectwithb.com is the best way to get in touch with me. And I'm going to say this as we wrap up. Stop waiting for the perfect time to write your book. That day is not coming. You do not need any more time. What you need is commitment. Set a schedule, stick to it, get the words out. And when you think, oh, but my idea's already been done, remember this: no one else will say it the way you say it. Your experiences, your voice, your perspective, that makes your book yours. So write, refine, edit, and when you're ready, find the right partner to help bring your book to life the right way. And the right partner should be Press 49, just saying.
I love it, Bridgett. I love it. Sneaking in one more tip for our listeners. I'm going to put all the links that you mentioned, your Connect with B, your website, your LinkedIn. We also have your BizBook Pub Hub Premier Partner link, which is your profile link on the hub. By the way, if you go to bizbookpubhub.com, you're going to find all the show notes that I've just mentioned for this show, for all the other episodes that come out every Tuesday and Thursday. And we also have the invitation to come to our free virtual networking events. We've got the Kindle cross promotion campaign that happens 3 times a year. I'm forgetting stuff. There's so much on there. It's amazing. So if you're a writer, you're author, you want to be, come hang out with us. Go to bizbookpubhub.com. And Bridgett, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you, Robbie.